Hello and welcome to Annie G Studio. Today I am going to work with this beautiful new stamp that I got. It is from Colorado Craft Company, big and bold, and it is a daisy and bee background. So I'm going to just play around and make a fun background, see how it turns out. Now I haven't played with my distress inks in a while, so I'm just going to try to get a nice yellow background. Oh, I am using Nina Classic Crest, the smooth 110-pound cardstock. I like this cardstock because it's solid, and I'm going to be doing a lot of embossing on this, so I wanted something a little stronger. And I kind of make a little bit of a mess. I have a couple blobby areas, but that's okay. I can always cut them off if I don't like it. I usually, when I'm working with the stamp, I like to have a piece of cardstock that is bigger than what I'm stamping, obviously. So messes that I make or mistakes, and no matter how hard I try, I still get those big marks from the sponge. I think I just go way too heavy-handed, and that's my biggest problem, as you can see. And I'm just trying to get some random different colors in here. I'm not being very picky at the moment. That was Wild Honey. I am going in with some mustard seed. I just want to have kind of a nice yellow background. And again, if I wasn't so heavy-handed, this probably would look a lot better than it does right now. But I think by the time it's all said and done, it's going to be nice. And again, I don't mind that it's a little blobby. When you're looking at a honeycomb, it's not going to be exactly uniform in color anyway. So one day, hopefully, I will learn to be light-handed, but I haven't had much success with it yet, no matter how hard I try. I love the little mini ink cubes because these little rounds fit right underneath. And now I'm going in with some squeezed lemonade. May go over some of the darker color with it. It's just a little brighter. I'm not sure if this one's really going to show up or not. Just to add some fun and get kind of a textured background a little bit. Something just not a plain white. And I didn't just want a plain yellow piece of paper either. So, there you go. And now the next thing I'm going to do is stamp, and I want to try, I have been told, let this go first, I have been told that you can emboss just using the distress ink, that it takes a little bit longer to dry, so I can actually put embossing powder over my distress ink. I haven't tried it yet. I hope it doesn't dry too quickly. I'm in San Diego, and it's really dry here, so we'll see if this is going to work. I'm going to use my walnut stain ink and my new walnut stain distress glaze over the top of it. But first I'm going to use, especially since this is probably a little bit wet, I have one of those little pouches that basically, it's like cornstarch baby powder or something. I don't know the exact formulation that's in here, but it helps to for the embossing powder not to stick on everything. Okay. Now I have put my stamp in my MISTI already, and for some reason, and this is operator error, I am sure, I always have to ink things twice whenever I use my MISTI. And again, like I said, that's just me. It's something I know about myself, so I don't mind. That's why I put I need new magnets, can you tell? But I try to put everything in the corner here, so if it does move around, I can just stick it right back here and secure it, and when I do my second impression, it won't be all blotchy. Okay, this is a big big stamp and a very small ink pad. This is the first time I've stamped it too, so I did rub it to try to take off the coating. Usually what you want to do is rub it on like a brown paper bag, or on your, I use it on my forearm, and just to get that coating off of the rubber, the acrylic, or I think this is a photopolymer stamp actually. But the first time you use a clear stamp, it's not always going to give you the best impression the very first time, at least in my experience. So that's why especially when I'm using the MISTI, so I can do it a couple times and get the impression that I want. And that's not going to work. And I can see already that my ink's a little blotchy, so I'm not sure how this is going to turn out. But again, I'm going to use the embossing glaze over the top, so I'm not going to get too picky. Oh, that's kind of cool. But I'm going to do again. Now, you're not supposed to swipe your ink because you don't want to damage your ink pad, but I do it on. If I have a big stamp, I will just swipe it first and then tap over it, but you can see where I didn't do a very good job of that here. Okay, wish me luck. And I have a piece of folded paper, so I'm going to take this off since I want to emboss right away, or put the embossing powder right away. While it's still wet, I'm going to pick it up pretty quickly, but I'm trying to get as much ink as possible, because I did not do a very good job last time. And please excuse the background noise. It's pretty noisy in the studio. That is the San Diego trolley going by right now, if you could hear it in the background. Ooh, much better. That's why I do it twice. Okay. Let's hope that this, let me get this out of the way. And again, a lot of times, especially with bees, you usually use black and yellow. But I didn't want to use black. I wanted to make it a little bit softer, so I figured, you know, I may even try it with vintage photo. I think it'll be really pretty that way too. But I don't know if any's stuck on there or not. We'll see. Try one more time just to make sure. I'll see when I emboss it whether or not there's actually anything on there, or if it just fell right off. I don't think it's stuck. But we'll try. But, oh, anyway, I wanted to use the walnut stain. Oh, geez, I'm making a mess. I wanted to use the walnut stain instead of black because I wanted it to be just a little bit softer. And any of you who have never seen me craft before, you will realize very quickly that I am extremely uncoordinated, but it doesn't matter because it's really more what the end result looks like. If you don't like the process, then speed through the video and just go ahead and look at the end. Here it goes. Let me get my Misty out of the way so I don't melt it. I think there is some powder on here. I can't really tell. It's not a lot, but let me heat this up a little bit first so I don't scorch my paper. But you can see how pretty this is going to be. And for those of you who are new to embossing, the key to know when your embossing is done is that when it's dry, it looks like the powder that you poured on. When it's done, I don't know if you can see it in the light, but it's shimmery and shiny, and that's when you know it's all done. So I'm just gonna let this cool down for a sec. I'm gonna get my plug out of the way. Hopefully this is not in the video. Oh, sorry if I'm shaking. All right, let's get that out of the way. So here is the image. It's beautiful. I love it. Now what I thought would be really, really fun to do with this, let me put the top on my ink. I mean, if you wanted to, you're fine, you're done. You could take this and you could either cut out the best part and do it as a full card front, or you can cut it in half and use two partial card fronts. You don't have to, you layer it obviously on something else, maybe some background paper or just a colored paper. And that can be your focal point. Just put a little sentiment and you're done. I thought I would have a little bit of fun. I have Seth Apter's baked texture, the vintage beeswax. So I wanted to melt a little bit in some of these just to see what it would look like. And then I can go in with markers to color in some of the bees. Actually, it's a little different than I thought it was, so I may not, but I can color in the flowers if you want to make them pop. You could do whatever you want, or like I said, you could just use this as is. You're done, cut it out, mount it on a card, and put it in a sentiment, and you have a beautiful card. So, wish me luck. I'm going to look for, who is this? I have a dauber, and this is an emboss it dauber, so I can, wherever I dab, it's going to get embossing ink. So instead of having to try to figure it out with a pad, that's way too hard. You can also take one of these and use it on your one of your foams on your embossing pad and try to get in there too. Depends on how coordinated you are with one of these. I love this. It's the Wow Mixed Media embossing brush that Seth Apter came out with this year. So and I want this to be a little thick and clunky. So that, by the way, this does come out very thick. It looks like nail polish. So you can just, wherever you want to put it. And I do want to put it on kind of thick because that's thick embossing powder, and I don't want it to blow away. I want it to stay. So I'm gonna, I'll put it in a few places to start just to see how it turns out, and then I could do the other part later. Now when I'm embossing, I use just a piece of copy paper, and when I'm changing colors, all I do is wipe it on my leg, and it's ready to go for my new color. Most people don't want to do that. They have a lot of trays you can use, a lot of different ways you can recapture your embossing powder. Again, I've been doing this forever, so that just seems to work for me better than anything else. And I either wear black pants or jeans, so it doesn't matter what I do to my pants. If I get a little bit of color or something on it, that's okay, because you're not going to see it. Again, I probably don't do things the traditional way, but it's my way. Now this is really thick. I don't know if you can see how it's like thicker crystals. Embossing powders, you have the chunky, which is basically like this, the regular embossing powder, and then you have the super fine that's great for using words or doing words or detailed stamps. Now that's great, but I want to see if I can get it a little chunkier than that. I don't know if I can do it without getting it everywhere. I'll try to see. There you go, I have a little bit more on. Now when you have chunky embossing powder, especially since I have extra on top of that, if I just take the heat tool to it, it's going to blow away. So one thing you can do with your chunky so it doesn't blow away is heat it underneath. And then once the paper heats up and it starts to melt, then you can go ahead and put the heat tool on top. So I'm going to start my heat tool, and here we go. It's a little hard to do in this small space. Ouch. But we'll give it a shot. Another thing, you see it's already starting to melt, but another thing you can do, and you're going to see some of it blow away, but you can come from above, just come really far away, and as it starts to move, kind of back off a little bit, and you can slowly get closer. And this is neat. See how liquid it is? Because it's so thick that it can move around. Like if I wanted it to drip a little bit, I could do this and have it just kind of go a little bit more organic. Now since I used embossing powder here, when I add the beeswax, it's going to mix a little bit with the brown embossing powder, but I thought that would be kind of a neat look. Like I said, I just wanted to play around and see what happened. If you didn't want that little bit of brown, you just wanted to keep the beeswax on there, then just stamp and don't do the embossing powder on your image, and that way whatever embossing powder you add to it won't be mixing. You'll get more of the color of your background. I'm going to play around with these little cells up here too, part of the honeycomb. It's funny because this still looks wet even though it's not. I love how shiny this is. Just a really neat antiquing, it almost looks like an antique glaze if you put it over something else that's not, trying to be beeswax. It can give it a nice vintage look to any of your projects. It's just a really, really fun embossing powder. I love that. And nice thing about the brush is I probably don't need to do this because I have enough on there that it could probably just drip down, but I want to get a little bit more in this area here. And I just want to make sure that I got that off. So I'm going to add just a teeny bit more. And I have this on top of the brown, so the colors are definitely going to mix on this one. And it may turn to mud, and I may not like it, in which case I don't use that section. I throw it out and just use the part that still looks good. But the nice thing about it, I like to play. I just come in here and I mess around, and if I don't like it, the worst thing that happens is it goes in the garbage. But every once in a while, I get a really nice result, and a little surprised, but it's always fun to see what happens. Kind of tap it around. And when it's warm, you can always add more embossing powder to it if you want to build it up really bulky. I'm going to keep this again and just see if I can get it to drip. Not necessarily to melt and mix with the other one, but to drip into it. Just to make it look like a honeycomb would look. There you go. I have I'll just use this I have a bunch of different yellow markers. I don't have a ton of them, so I thought I would just see. Oh, that's orange. That might work though. That's a pretty color. Now you can just color. I'm just gonna put a couple of highlights in on the daisies. I'm used to watercoloring, so when I just straight up use markers, I always feel like it looks like a kindergartner did it. But we're gonna give this a shot. I'm gonna see if I can color in the daisies and see if it even makes a difference. I'll start on the small one. Just kind of, you don't have to go all the way out. You could just do color part of it. Just give it a little bit of love. And this is oh, I used the wrong one. I used the darker one. That's okay. We'll do this one later. Oh no, that is this, which one? I don't know. My markers are so old. Who knows? It definitely looks orange instead of yellow. But unfortunately my yellow one is coming out even more orange than the other, so I'll try this one and see. Yeah, that's a little bit darker. That's a little too orange. Oh, actually it's kind of cool. Do just a little bit here. Again, just add a couple highlights if you wanted to. You can put some little brown dots in the center of your flowers. You could leave it alone and do nothing. It doesn't matter. It's just personal preference. Again, I just was trying to play around to see what I could do with my new stamp. So that's what it looks like. Don't be afraid to play with your supplies. And don't be afraid to have to throw some stuff out, because it's just a piece of paper, honestly. Remember, that's all it started out as. Ooh, this is cool. You can see where that beeswax embossing powder was. I have no idea what it's made with, but it's really awesome. And that's probably it. Okay, that's good enough. And I'm again, I have no idea what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to think on it for a couple of days. I may cut it down, throw it in my art journal, cut it up and just use a strip of it. Maybe this strip right here on the edge of a card. Who knows? But that's it. That's my quick, fast, and easy card front with Distress Inks and Colorado Craft Company and Seth Apter's Big Texture and Tim Holtz's Distress Glaze, and just some simple things that you have around the house. Have a great day. Bye. Here's my finished project. I added some details with my distress marker, and I used an aqua shimmer marker to add some sparkle to the wings. And here you can see some of the honey dripping. I really like how that effect turned out. Thank you for watching my video, and please like the video and subscribe to my channel. And you can visit my website at anniegstudio.com. Thank you very much.